welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 songs and artists banned from Top of the Pops. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we'll be looking at all those lovely tunes that have been banned on the iconic British television programme, for better or worse. Number 10, We Call It Acid by D-Mob. In 1988, the acid house subgenre was facing a lot of heat from the press because of its ties to drug use. So it wasn't really good for optics when a song named We Call It Acid was presented to the Top of the Pops audience by a host wearing a shirt with a smiley face on it, a symbol which was often associated with taps of acid.
It's D-Mob featuring Gary Hazeman, and We Call It Acid!
That would be the last time the song was featured on the show, as the BBC swiftly banned it. Surprisingly, the song's musician Danny D actually claimed there was no relation between the song and drug use, expressing he himself was not a drug user and was just celebrating the genre. But that wasn't enough for the Beeb. Number 9, Relax by Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Relax, don't do it when you wanna go to it. Relax, don't do it when you wanna go.
It seems almost impossible to dislike Frankie Goes to Hollywood's breakout song, but it appears the band's not-so-subtle eroticism made it hard for the suits at the BBC to relax. Funnily enough, it was actually the BBC's fault that the song became such a mega hit. It was floundering in the charts before the band performed it on Top of the Pops, at which point it exploded. But that's when the Stiffs noticed all the sexual innuendos and called for the song to be banned from TOTP and all BBC radio stations. But the song was such an undeniable hit, and by the end of the year, they were forced to lift the ban and allow Frankie to perform on the Christmas Day special episode. Number 8, Disarm by the Smashing Pumpkins.
This is the first time they've ever done Top of the Pops, but I'm sure it won't be the last. Yes, it's time for that Top of the Pops exclusive. It's the Smashing Pumpkins with Tonight.
This one's another victim of weird misinterpretation. In 1993, Britain was shocked by the murder of young James Bulger by two 10-year-old boys. But what does that have to do with the Smashing Pumpkins' standout record? Well, very little. But that's not how some BBC officials saw it.
Cut that little child inside of me and such a part of you.
The song contains lyrics like, "Cut that little child," and "The killer in me is the killer in you," which some thought were too closely tied to the horrific events involving Bulger. Despite the fact that these lyrics were actually more poetic and in reference to Billy Corgan's fractured relationship with his parents, Top of the Pops insisted that the song be banned from the show. Number 7, A Pair of Brown Eyes by the Pogues. It wasn't always live performances that were banned on Top of the Pops. Often when a performer couldn't or didn't want to appear on the show that week, they'd simply air the music video instead. This didn't always work out for the bands though. Take the Pogues for example with their song A Pair of Brown Eyes, which had a music video that was highly critical of then Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher.
We're a pair of brown eyes.
The music video portrays her treatment of Ireland akin to that of Big Brother from George Orwell's 1984. To avoid any controversy, Top of the Pops decided to simply never broadcast this clip.
I left the place, sometimes crawling, sometimes walking.
Number 6, Creep by Radiohead.
When you were here before, I couldn't
look you in the eye.
These days, Creep stands as the most divisive song in Radiohead's incredible library. Some fans love it, while others absolutely despise it. It seemed like the BBC fell into the latter camp back in 1992 when the song was released, and they absolutely refused to play it. The reason? Just a simple one, it was allegedly too depressing.
But I'm a creep.
Oh yeah, and it contained an F-bomb. The band decided to combat this later in 1993 by re-releasing the song without the expletives in the lyrics, and that seemed to be enough as far as the BBC was concerned. The band were finally allowed to play it on Top of the Pops. Number 5, Peaches by The Stranglers. Hitting number 8 in the charts is no easy feat, especially with a song as cheeky as this.
Walking on the beaches, looking at the beaches.
Alongside Golden Brown and No More Heroes, Peaches is among The Stranglers' most recognizable tracks, depicting the inner monologue of a pervy bloke going around the beaches and getting an eyeful of the ladies.
Liberation for women, that's what I preach your man.
It was a miracle that even a heavily censored version of the track was ever able to air on BBC Radio. But Top of the Pops was a step too far in the eyes of the Beeb. So when invited onto the show, they were instead asked to play the single's B-side track, Go Buddy Go. What a shame, imagine what could have been. Number 4, The Prodigy.
Second week at number 1, of course. Prodigy are top of the pop.
In some cases, it wasn't just one song that was blacklisted by Top of the Pops. The Prodigy were making waves in the late 90s in the EDM scene, but the world, or more so older audiences, weren't ready for them yet. BBC believed that their number 1 record, Firestarter, would encourage people to commit arson around Britain, but reluctantly played it a couple of times on the show before pulling the plug.
I'm a fire starter, twisted fire starter.
One song they would absolutely not budge on though was Smack My Bitch Up, which they labelled as sexist and potentially inciting violence against women. The song was never allowed to appear on the show, despite its chart-topping success. Number 3, Je t'aime, Moi non plus, by Serge Gainsbourg.
Je vais et je viens.
The first ever band number 1 track in the show's history was back in 1969 when French artist Serge Gainsbourg lit the world on fire with his raunchy romance anthem. The song, which translates to I love you, me neither, was seen as far too lewd for the BBC's television show, including lyrics like I go and I come between your loins. Though you'd have to actually be able to understand French to pick up on these lyrics. It also featured a quivering segment that some believe to be the sounds of an orgasm, though that was debated by Gainsbourg. But he didn't really have any say when it came to TOTP adding this to the blacklist. Number 2, God Save the Queen by Sex Pistols. Sex Pistols certainly didn't make any friends back in '77 when they released this anti-authority track.
God save the Queen! The fascist regime!
Radio stations refused to play it, and even Woolworths refused to sell the record. Something about their critique towards the British monarchy didn't sit right with big names in the music world, despite resonating with many of the working class.
God save the Queen! We mean it, man!
Famously, many claimed it was the BBC who blocked the track from reaching number 1 on the UK singles chart. so it wouldn't come as any surprise that the track was also banned from Top of the Pops. Number 1. Happy Mondays.
Now for a band that's come all the way from Manchester. They're called Happy Monday, featuring a very special guest, Kirsty McCall. The song's Alleluia, and it's number 30.
Happy Mondays lead Sean Ryder has been quite vocal over the years about his feud with Top of the Pops. The band's music wasn't exactly controversial, so you might be wondering how they managed to find themselves walloped by the banhammer on the biggest musical show in Britain at the time. Well, it was more of a backstage issue. Happy Mondays appeared a few times on the show, and on one episode, an altercation backstage wherein one of the BBC bigwigs scolded Sean took place.
Don't know what you saw, but you know it's against the law.
Instead of bowing down and taking it, Sean instead opted to tell him to, quote, "F off, knobhead." As you can imagine, the pompous bloke didn't like that. The band was banned from the show, but fortunately, it didn't impede their success.
Won't be no misfit in my household today.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojoUK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.